Ultimate round of FRL's Sprint Sunday. We have two sprint races for this evening with 20 and 40 minutes. I am the Woofafa, otherwise known as Greg, and joining me for our inaugural try on the commentary box is a Retro Ghost, otherwise known as Owen Harris. How are you, buddy?
I'm very good, thank you, buddy. It's an absolute pleasure to join the FRL Sprint Sunday, an absolute sensational race on a Sunday to kick this off. The Nurbergring, not the Norderschleife, the Nurbergring Grand Prix. So we're all new to a Sunday where we're going to have some household favourites kick us off with some fantastic racing.
Yeah, so my old tradition that I love to do is catching the first guy out of the pits, driving around on their initial lap. We're going to stay with them for their full first lap. So yeah, for those who are joining us for the first time, watching the Sprint Sunday for the first time, hope you can give us some comments, let us know. Well, actually, keep us up to date, really, because we're not too familiar with a lot of these drivers. Where has he gone? Hiedmans. So, and you may just have to notice that we are slowly familiarising ourselves with this game in terms of commentary. So you might see a few screen blunders, but we're going to try and keep the commentary top notch. So Hiedmans is in BMW, so we're going to go on board with him.
So just checking the streams work, just making sure you got the comment.
We are. I've got you there, Retro.
Cool, lovely.
So,
no technology failures, but say we have, without butchering any names, the first guy out on track, W. Hiedmans. We're going to go with it.
I'm going to go for Hiedmans as he's rounded the Coca-Cola curve and he heads downhill into Yokohama. Very, very tight on the exit here in terms of keeping a line. Very, very slippery. It's off camber, then you get slightly on camber corner if you keep it nice and tight as he plunges down the hill again. This nice slow section can catch you out quite early on. A lot of time to be gained if you can keep your car without sliding the rear. But through he goes here now. Down the hill is the 3/10 down on his delta from his outlap. I'm hoping he'd want to be pushing on from here on in. He must have had a very, very fast outlap. And round he goes down towards the Dunlop curve. You want to take a later apex as possible here. Make sure you plant your traction. You just think your car's never going to come out of the bend here. And drives away. Traction goes down on that BMW. It's one of the fastest straight line on the game.
There's absolutely phenomenal speed from the BMW. Yeah. So not a massively picked car, but say fantastic speed from the BMW. So getting a corner in very nicely there, spotting his turning in point for the brakes. So getting that BMW firing.
So as he heads out of the Varsteiner curve, down through the Van der Bergen. And he's going to come. It's one of the trickiest chicanes on the calendar. Very high curbs here. If you bounce them right, if you drop your suspension enough, you can drive out here with a lot of traction. As he heads round the Coca-Cola curve once again, and he's going to start us off with a 1:57.1. Who to go to next? Then we've had Serfontaine also coming across the line, marginally down, only by 4 attempts. What? Virum, I believe is, pick who's out on track. Car number 7 about to come round the final corner of Thacker.
Just to interrupt, dude, have you done the same setup that I've done with the arrow box on left hand side, what we just discussed? As G Brown in the Discord has just said to return to garage, you get a driver order down on the left hand side, which I think we've already done.
I have.
Yeah, perfect, just confirming.
Yeah. So we're just on board with Thacker, who puts himself up into P8. So we're picking up car number 25, just coming around the final sector now. And that'd be Rodriguez. So he's not quite as bumpy as others have done going through the chicane. round the Coca-Cola curve, plants his foot down in the other BMW, in the white, yellow and black, throws himself to the line. I think this is just his out lap, so we'll see how he does starting his lap. Anybody else you spotted, Retro, who's flying around? Setting some green sectors?
Just trying to flick through just to see who's going where. So we just picked up Q Robert in the yellow McLaren, very gorgeous looking McLaren with a tinge of purple around that car, coming round to a very tricky chicane. Say ACC does get the nicer chicane for this layout, as I do know the Gran Turismo 7 does choose the early one, but say ACC gets the nicer chicane, a lot more car friendly as he comes around the Coca-Cola curve towards the start straight, towards the timing line. He does put himself provisionally P6. A very respectable time there from him.
So I'm just going to very briefly give myself a better camera angle, so just bear with me. Something wider, there we go.
They just flick back to F. Rodriguez, coming around the fast left right in sector 2, I believe. Just now coming round to the part of sector 3 is tricky, heavy on the brakes, all over the curb in there, but say keeps it respectable. Whether it was still valid or invalid, we're not quite sure yet, but say does get that BMW firing towards the tricky chicane. I say a big BMW like that needs to nail it.
So a little bit of slip downhill. Hello, Mr. Friedman. Glad to have you in the stream. Let us know who your predictions are for this evening. We're getting to learn the drivers as we go. But that F. Rodriguez does look like he's struggling a little bit with the rear, but he powers towards the line to set his initial lap. And goes all the way up to
P11.
P11.
Rodriguez.
So it looks like all... We're glad to be here, Mr. Friedman. And we are picking up 717, which is Hyman's. Please, if you're a friend of Hyman's, let us know in the in the chat if we are respecting or butchering his name. So the man
I'm sure we're going to get that a lot.
It's a very fast driver. Raced against him on a Tuesday. Does he improve his time coming across the line? He does not. He stays exactly a second off the pole.
So he just picked up Q Robert again. Is he going to improve on his time? He does. P6 from P8 for Q Robert in that McLaren. We do have P7 Jay Thacker on a lap, coming around the Coca-Cola curve towards the start straight. He's currently sitting P9, nearly just under 2 seconds off the lead time. Is he going to improve? I don't think he did.
I think he did marginally improve, but doesn't gain a position. I think about 0.3 improvement there.
We've got Cooters, who does go to P3, I believe.
Cablo crossing the line now. Marginal improvement, but doesn't improve his position.
We've got S. Kinney just behind him in the Ferrari. I think he just didn't quite improve, or whether he did or not, I'm not quite sure, but say 2, 4,
And
6.
Trotman fires himself up to P2 in the standings. Well done there. That McLaren is quite the animal, very popular car amongst the community.
Oh, as we say that, he's just dived off into the gravel. Not quite what the McLaren features for. Sandcastle maker, but here we have it. Trotman currently P2.
Rodriguez clearly put a bit of fuel in his car to get some laps in. Goes from P11. Does not improve. Still chipping away at his time. There's a bit of a gap, 0.5 to his next position of P10. And there's another 0.7 gap between P10 and P9 of Thacker. Singer, who is just pulling up on some traffic here now. Wonder if he's going to dive out the way, having dropped back. That car, being the number, as he does, yeah, does dive out the way. That was number 113 of Riviera.
We've got A. Gonell coming up to chicane. He looks like he's on a lap. Oh, as I say that, commentator's curse gets a big snap from the BMW there, sending that BMW boat all over the grass.
You know how to hand them out, don't you, Retro?
Oh, yes. We've got De Vita currently sitting P1 at the moment. Is he going to improve on his time of the 155.0? He does. Breaks into the 154.9s. Fantastic from him. They've got Jay Thacker. Didn't quite improve on his time, I don't think.
We've got Cablo round in the Coca-Cola curve in the Bentley. Very powerful but very heavy car. Maybe if it sits quite far at the back of the car, he might get some traction, and he does. Jumps up to P10 from the back of the grid so far.
A Skinny or Kinney crossing the line, moving up into P10 in my favourite, the Ferrari 296.
Now, unfortunate to see any Lambos on the grid this evening, Retro. That's my favourite.
Oh, see, they left the... I can't say that, we're commentating. They left the unpreferred cars at home.
The unpreferred ones. How political of you.
Well, professional, at least.
So we are just starting to get a bit of a stack up at the end of the pit lane now.
And so as the second tier get underway very shortly.
And we'll pick up car number 41 of another Ferrari. This one in splendid blue with a grey rear. And he's going to try and pull a bit of a gap. The McLaren just behind him of number 22, Guzman. Not choosing to pick up too much of a gap here. We'll hopefully back out just a little bit before the Coca-Cola curve. But we're going to follow Mulnix around on this lap, see what the Ferrari can do as he powers away. Just flat out all the way until he reaches the crest. Then he'll be braking downhill and slightly kink to the right. You can choose quite a tight exit here, or you can choose to really swing it deep. Yeah, chooses quite a late apex there and gets away well. Track quite rubbered in now. Very easy line for the drivers to follow. But it does look like temperature is just dropping that little bit.
I think they might be struggling with tyre temps just a little bit, so we just flicked onto Guzman behind him. And he's just sliding that McLaren around at the moment. Maybe the track's just not quite up to temp for him yet.
Isaiah, thank you very much in the comments for wishing us well. We're all very much appreciated. Like I said, anybody in the comments, you probably know these drivers a lot better than we do. Let us know your predictions, who you're rooting for, and who we should look out for. Who's a charging bull? Who's like a bull in a china shop? and who likes to teeth around and wait for the bull to pick up the pieces?
Well, it's not about being the bull, mate. It's all about being the horns.
Yeah. But as we pick up with Mulnix, round in the middle sector, learning these corners as I go. That's the Vasnut curve. I'm not going to attempt to do a strong German accent, but I need to put in a little one to get these pronunciations right. As the Ferrari looks absolutely planted through the Avantbogen, heading into the NG Schinke, which is what they call it, but we're just going to stick to calling it the chicane. He rounds the Coca-Cola curb, plants his foot as hard as he dares, don't get too far over the rumble strips on the left, all the way to the line, and puts himself immediately up into P10.
So we've got Guzman just behind him, just rounding the start straight.
Guzman, very respectable. 155.8, I believe that is. Who else coming around here?
7 just behind, just starting on that car number 4.
So we're trying to learn as we go. Well, next time we make sure we will. And Spanu round in the final corner. What can he do? In his all black with purple trimmed Porsche, he goes P18.
We've got Lil Holt in the AMG Mercedes just behind him.
Pops into P20.
P20, yeah.
We've got Graf just starts in the middle sector, or just ending the first sector, I should say. These tricky off-camber sections are very slippy, very tight. If you can keep it where the rubber's already laid down, you might just get the traction over the others. Heads down to the Dunlop hairpin. Tries to keep it off the dirt. Oh, as he does drift wide. Picks a bit of rubber, but does carry on nonetheless. Looks like we've got the devil himself about to cross the line. 666. Where's he gone?
He's just started a lap.
And that's Virum, so yeah, we'll stay on board with Graf until the end of this lap. Got a few alternate lines here, but maybe that's just the characteristics of the Porsche.
So we just got Molnix in P14, just about to cross the line. He does move up to P4. Fantastic time from him. Looking a respectable mid 155 sort of time. So we've got a few drivers coming towards the line.
Graf. So we've got Graf just pulling towards the line now. Well, it looks a bit of a scruffy lap. Let's see what he can pull together here.
But G. Harvey moving up from about P8 to P9 to P2. Just outside the 154s, but knocking Trotman off P2. Fantastic lap from the McLaren there.
We've just got Little Holt also about to cross the line. Does he improve? No, he does not. But we've still got a bit more time for this tier of drivers to round the circuit again. Maybe put in another competitive time.
Just over 13 minutes left of qualifying for this tier. So this track's gonna get a lot more rubber laid down, increasing that grip, and especially in those tight hairpin corners.
Govinin, Raki Maj, I hope I've said that correctly, as we just catch John's crossing the line, but without improvement. Few drivers really starting to struggle to keep it between the lines here. Maybe a bit too much rubber's been shed around the outsides of the track.
So we do have Virum in the Mercedes. I think he just started another lap, he didn't improve, unfortunately.
And I've just found Harvey, the number 2 sitter at the moment.
Oh, there's a bit of a grass and a wall there for the devil himself. Unfortunately, Satan can't keep the wall out of that Mercedes.
So Harvey being let through by the Porsche. Who was the Porsche? That was 77. Of Graf,
sliding all over that chicane there. Harvey gets the McLaren fired towards the finish line. Is he going to improve on his time? Not so much. Stays P2 at the moment.
And Graf once again unable to set a valid lap. Time's ticking away. I think we've still got another tier to get through. I think these will be relinquished in the next 2 minutes. Others rounding the final bends. There's number 63. Trying to pick that one out. Another one who's not set a lap yet. That's Gilles Holt, who does get a final lap and brings it to P22.
There we did have Spanu behind him, so I think he's just been quite improving his time. Still stays P16 at the moment.
We just got on board with a big drift from Johns there. Almost takes himself into the pit lane with the size of that drift off the chicane. Hopefully he's kept it valid.
Brown coming round the Coca-Cola curve. Is he going to improve on his time in that beast of a Bentley? Now he's sitting P6.
Johns must have been on one hell of a lap there to put in that much of a drift and bring himself up to P19, less than 2 seconds off the lead. We'll go back on board with the devil, Mr. Virum, as he slides the rear end of that Mercedes. What was out with that Mercedes? I know is good on traction. I used it for a season, about half a season, before I switched to the Lambo, but does not improve, does Virum. Number 79 of Gedman, Mr. Gedman, in the black on black on black with the blue trim wheels from P15, improves by 1 position to P14.
So we did have D. Owls slightly behind him, and a tow from the car in front moves up from I think P8 to P6. It's a big train of cars here at the minute as this session for this tier dwindles down to the final moments.
So now, finally, we have... Hello there, Nico Veldman. Nice to have you. Let us know if you know any of the drivers. Do you have any predictions? We'd love to hear them. And the first out on the track out of the last and final tier to run this evening is Mr. Friedman. No? Yes. I think everybody else on is just coming into the pits. So in the Porsche, very, very colourful livery there.
That's a gorgeous livery.
I'm a bit of a too wide a camera to fully appreciate it, but if you could describe that for the viewers, Retro, I'm sure they'd appreciate it.
So definitely a gorgeous camera there from Friedman on that Porsche with the left-hand side of the rear of that Porsche. Oh, I've just hit drive by mistake. Where's he gone? Bear with me.
Just back out, you'll never find him.
Yeah, no, I found it. It's a gorgeous Porsche there with the right-hand side, a big flame covering the right-hand side of that car. Absolutely gorgeous. The skull right over the air duct in the middle of the bonnet. Fantastic. Retro approves.
There you go, commentator seal of approval from Retro. It's the most plaudits he's given so far this evening. We'll catch up with the rest of this tier as this session comes to a close. But for the time being, we're going to stay on board with Friedman for his first lap. As he rounds the Coca-Cola curb, keeps it out of the wall. We forgive you, Nico. We forgive you.
As long as it's not Nico Rosberg, you're all right.
we don't need Barbie in the stream. So, as Mr. Friedman, Lexi doesn't quite hit the apex there, but for a first attempt, close enough. As he powers out around the Mercedes Arena 1 and 2. I can't really quite see it from this angle, but this is downhill all the way. There's a little wide, hopefully he's kept that valid.
And so we do have Prentice in the Ferrari behind. I hope he doesn't catch up to him, so Prentice is on a flyer at the minute.
Is there more than one Prentice?
Taking some fantastic line there through the part of Sector 1 there to his downhill section.
So we do have more than one Prentice. That really confused me for a moment.
If you hadn't have said that, I wouldn't have noticed.
So we have one Prentice in an Aston Martin. We have one Prentice in a Ferrari.
And so all eyes on the Prentice in the Ferrari at the moment. Ooh, gets all over the curb in there, touches the grass, touches the sandcastles on the outside. I think he does slightly keep it valid. Who knows? So
we've just got still Friedman coming into the end of the second sector now. All undramatic so far, but he's hanging out the rear here and there. He's pushing the track limits. We're still unsure if he's invalidated earlier on in the lap, doing that little bit wide in the extended bit of track. As he gets a wonderful drive out, not too much wheel spin, throws himself to the line. As we go up, and Friedman pops himself immediately into P2 with only an 0.008 of a second down on De Vita. As Friedman goes round again.
Unfortunately, El Prentice, I think, did invalidate that lap, as we did see him going through the fast left-right-hander. And so we was right for Heymans. You say it as Heymans.
Heymans.
Yeah.
I wasn't too far away, so hopefully you can forgive me.
That's it. Commentator's debuts. Cut us some slack, lads. We got Horvath in the Porsche, setting a time at the minute, moving to P29.
So this is as it immediately gets knocked down to P30 by those still out.
So the last two drivers, Prentice in the Ferrari and M. Grace in the Porsche. Another gorgeous looking Porsche. As much as I do love a Porsche, they're too uncontrollable for me to drive them, so I don't have the luxury of staring at a Porsche whilst racing. But say, M. Grace and Prentice, the last two drivers to set a lap in this session.
I must admit, I'm loving the livery on this Ferrari of Prentice. That deeper red is absolutely gorgeous. But hopefully he can keep all that paint attached to his car as he comes towards the chicane. Swings to his right hand side, don't dip it into the grass. You can ride those curbs quite nicely if your setup will allow for it. Goes all the way out wide onto the rumple strips, throws in a nice late apex, powers out, the camera zooms in, we follow him to the line.
I'm going to interrupt you there, buddy. Friedman did knock off De Vita from the top. He was 0.08 of a second behind, but then El Prentice has just now knocked off Friedman from the top spot with a 154.6. There's 18 thousandths of a second behind.
What about
the
Grace?
Top spot.
And Grace still not on a valid lap. The last man not to be able to actually set a lap so far. Seems to be invalidating in places. Clean live. I mean, that's an awfully clean looking Porsche. That's fully white to not have actually set a lap time yet. There should definitely be some dirt on that if he's off track.
Ooh. Don't be like that.
Well, how's Friedman doing? Friedman, the furthest one round on the lap, who's a little bit wide there, coming out of the Dunlop hairpin. And really, really pushing. He was a lot more controlled on his initial laps. This is really ringing the car out now. Choosing not to take too much curb on there. It did disrupt him in the last lap. Did the inside curb of
use it as much as a legal curve or curbing as he can on the exit, getting that Porsche fired towards the chicane. This is make or break. 18 thousandths of a second to the top spot. Can he make or break it? Oh, gets a bit of a bump there out the chicane.
Oh, and then it goes a little bit too far over the white line onto the rumple strips. Does strain it up. Sounded a little bit later on the power than previously. I don't think this is the lap. It'll be impressive as he found time elsewhere. He has! He has! But Prentice is now into the pits. I think he thinks that's everything he can do. What about Clayton further down, the next one in this tier, who's still out and performing? As he joins us in the chicane. Oh, perfect use of track limits.
Interrupt you there. M. Grace does finally set a lap, sneaking into the top 10 with a P9 at the moment.
But to the line comes Clayton and puts himself up close to the top from P8 to P5. As we go back.
So we've got the McLaren of Hugo Knott. 945 moving up to P11 from about P15. A good lap from him there. It's a 1 minute 20 left of the qualifying session.
We're on board with Mr. Friedman, who's found himself once again furthest man round the track, and will tab back through as they come across the line. Once again, looking very, very controlled. The track is cooling down even more now. Depending on how you set up your car, this could be detrimental, or it could really benefit you if you're running quite high pressures. Yeah, just very, very controlled here from Friedman. And how does he do on the XE, which is what cost him last time?
A lot more smoother.
That's a lot smoother. Maybe didn't quite get the turn he wanted there, though. How much more is really left in this lap? And he does it, but drops into the 153s. We go on board with the next one coming around, which is the other Prentice in the Aston Martin. Oh, as he almost takes out a Porsche.
Yeah, as M. Grace just behind him. So I hope we didn't impede him too much. But say M. Grace finally setting a lap. Say P9 at the minute.
Over to P3, wow, really puts him in for a shout.
Whether that spin might have affected him or not, but so he does take P3 at the moment. So car 37 coming around the Coca-Cola curve, Is he going to improve on his time? Currently P18 at the minute.
Was it? Yeah,
Does
jumps up to
indeed
P15.
move to P15. Car number 10. Horvath in the Porsche moves to P18, or wherever he stayed. P18, not quite sure.
So there you have it then. We have our grid for the start of this penultimate Super Sunday Sprint evening. So we'll just take you through the timetable now. So Friedman edged out the field by 6/10 in the end. What looked to be such a tight, fought-out thing went down to quite a large margin in the end. But after that, it still remains quite close. You've got Prentice leading Grace in that silver tier, and then DeVita heading the next tier down by some distance, about 3/10 to his closest competitor in that tier. Guzman in P5, dropping just outside a second from the overall pole of the session, followed by Clayton. Took a bit while to get it going, but found himself in P6 in the end. And we've got Mr. Brown in P7, followed by G. Harvey, who looked really strong early on. And then Herwig, P9, Trotman, Haugnot, Glotton, Els, Mullenix, and A. Sharp. And we've got Prentice, the other Prentice, in the Aston Martin, followed by Couters, Horvath, Heymans, Robert, Serfontaine, Gunnell, Gedman, Thacker, Spanu, Graf, Skinker, Rodriguez, Johns, Ziliotto, Cablo, Michelson, Rivera, Lilholt, Virum, all rounding out the last of the 35 drivers.
There's one thing that I am jealous of, just mention that, say, where we're on PlayStation 5 and a lot of these lads race on PC. Say, some of the liveries that they can custom make is absolutely fantastic. We don't have that luxury being on the peasant console. Say, the master race of PC, but say, some of these liveries just flicking through the grid whilst they are in the pits. Absolutely fantastic, lads.
So we are just waiting for the drivers to set a few things before we head into 20 minutes of sprint racing. There is no mandatory pit stop, no mandatory change of tyres or fuel. If you so wish, you can, and if you can survive, you can go from minute 20 to minute 0 on one single tank of gas and set of 4 rubber wheels. I'm looking forward to this. It's quite a tight turn 1, so I'm looking to see how the drivers navigate it. Have you got any anticipation for what's going to become of the first corner retro?
I don't know, but says a legend once said a race isn't won in the first corner, so it's all to play for. I know it's only a 20-minute sprint. They say tactics are key in a 20-minute sprint as much as they are key in a 60-minute race. So
we are going to count down. We have not. Sorry, Smiley. We are quite new to FRL. We jumped in. We joined the Taco Tuesdays, and since then we've jumped in and I thought we're going to get more involved and we're going to start doing some commentating. So we are just quite as new as some of the people are here, and we're trying to learn our way through the drivers, learn our way through the spectator side of ACC. He's called the grass.
Ooh, that's a great bit of insight. So we're always going to call him Gedman the grass cutter now. Can't unsee it. Commentator's curse. Who said that?
Do you know, I did get a post through the door earlier of someone advertising like gardening services. I wonder if that was Gedman.
Ooh, we're already dissing him before we started.
Hey, someone in the comments started it. It's all love, guys. It's all love.
It's all the crowd.
It's all the crowd. As we slowly drift forward through the pack, I'm going to settle on Friedman for the start. We're going to have a laps formation and a rolling start, as far as I've been told, and then we're going to have 20 minutes of racing. Not too, the cars should be quite light in this particular session. Glad our humour is appreciated and not frowned upon. Now, good luck to you, Mr. Friedman. I should probably stop calling. Buddy. I probably should stop calling everybody Mr. This and Mr. That.
Well, you never know.
There could be a woman in here anywhere.
Exactly. Without being political.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. For turn 1, I think it's crucially, it's the turning for turn 2. There's some drivers that are trying to navigate turn 2 while drivers are still coming into turn 1. It's very easy chance of T-boning into the first corner as drivers are already turning away by the time they're trying to exit that turn 1.
It's interesting for debate though, as much as we do love a good turn 1 action, whether they class this track, the kink before turn 1, as a turn like Imola.
They do not.
They do not.
They do not. I have my cheat book out.
Of course you do.
The crucial thing is that we don't hit drive ourselves. We stay in spectator.
It's just like muscle memory, that, isn't it? 30
Yeah.
seconds, right, drive, quick.
Yeah.
10 seconds.
Well, as we get the countdown from the automation, and we're going to get hopefully a nice and calm formation lap. And we should be pulling away any moment now. As away goes Friedman. Pulls away quite nicely. So one of the advantages of the rolling start is, of course, unlike having to sit on a grid like they do in Formula 1, waiting for the last person to pull up as earlier, you don't end up getting cold tyres. Your tyres are respectably warm as you roll across the start-finish line in a rolling start. So you can have a whole grid full of 35 drivers, as we have here, all starting on equally prepared rubber. Now I'm just going to briefly just go into the replay menu so I get a better view, because it keeps dropping back out. There we go. You guys want the wide angle for the action. Yes, we've just got Friedman. Running him around.
Whoopsie.
I think
I
I've
went
just
into replay mode and it won't let me return to garage now.
I've just done the same thing. Hopefully, when the actual race starts, we should be able to do it. But we are at least going to get a leading start over the line from Friedman.
There he is.
As they all will start to form up relatively soon. As we have Prentice just at the rear, just letting Friedman pull away. He will form up very, very shortly. And here we go 2 by 2. Prentice electing to drop a little bit further back. Allowing Grace to get ahead.
So I just jumped on board Grace just to get a good shot of the front two into turn 1, just to give all the action just whilst we wait to be allowed to return back to garage so we can get the best.
As Friedman looks like he might dip into the pits there. Prentice looks for quite a wide line, picking up a few marbles there though. Potentially not advisable. And we have green lights and away we go. Looks like Friedman does get a good stop, but then he's pushed onto the marbles. Up comes behind is De Vita. Who's going to look for a move around the outside?
Go 3 wide.
Always we have cars going off in the background. Friedman gets a nice easy run away. The challenge of DeVita goes away. Prentice now has to defend from Grace.
Big carnage. 4, 5 cars I can see. All off at turn 1.
As the cars settle in round the first sector. Friedman is getting away well.
So we've got the McLaren of Hugo Knott already returned to pits, returned to garage.
As we are now back in the driving seat for commentary, apologise for that. As we're a bit further back, that was a car going wide, but it seems to have been recollected. That was Guzman, I believe. As as Clayton seems to have now taken the lead. No, it's just my timing screen going nuts.
Yeah, it's a little bit glitch for the lap 1. Just until they go through the first sector, it won't set itself where it should be. So
looks like I should have stayed in the menu. But no, Friedman pulling a fantastic gap early on, followed by Prentice not too far in the rear. Grace got a lot of defending to do from DeVita and Harvey.
So momentarily it said on my timing screen, it says the car in the pits was leading the race. Even though it returned to garage from turn 1.
But it looks like the top 2 have now checked out, leaving Grace to fend for himself. He's got the other Porsche of DeVita and the McLaren of Harvey directly behind him. Looks like Harvey's going for a dive though, covered off, but then allows DeVita to go deep. Harvey then switches back, looks for a move to the outside, but nothing doing. He's going to end up on the marbles if he goes wide there.
So he just picked up G Brown through turn 1, went for a fantastic switchback on Sharp there. Didn't quite get the drive out of the corner there, so Sharp does retake the position from Brown.
Guzman closing in on Volton. He's joining this fight for P3, but not to ignore DeVita closing in on Grace, but goes a little wide. That allows Grace just to pull away a little bit. Sorry, drivers. Yeah, DeVita trying to stay out of the grasp of Harvey. I do apologise. Fuel turn on lines there. It looks like Harvey is really struggling. That opened the door momentarily for Volton, but Volton is still going to have a good drive here.
I think I see another car in the pits already on lap 2.
Find some closer
graph in the pits already.
Further back, we've got a few drivers side by side as we are getting Q Robert being tapped in the rear there by Rodriguez, flashing up behind.
Well, I think he was lucky there to avoid the other car behind him. Well, Virum just about slots through from Rodriguez there. There's a massive vulnerability for the cars there. Big train towards the back.
As Hovarth goes deep, Spanu goes deep. Further ahead, Hovarth making a move down the inside. What will now become the outside? Oh, as they touch! Oh, and looks like Hovarth is not happy about the one. He dives back down the inside. But goes a little deep over the rumple, which then invites Spanu back into the mix. Oh, and then Rodriguez has to get hard on his brakes to avoid that. Virum is now jumping into the slipstream. He's got good traction out of that, but then the Mercedes power starts taking over. He pulls out, and Mercedes pulls ahead even further. He's still holding on to the inside. The Mercedes goes defensive. Porsche goes even further to the inside, but drives away well. Great battling down the rear end of the field. But we're still going here. But it looks like Hovarth just holding on for now, but goes wide there. Maybe has affected his traction against Spanu. Against Rodriguez, sorry. this 4-car battle for P26 really, really hotting up. Will Hogarth choose a dive down the Dunlop hairpin? No, he's too far back. Doesn't have the best line through there. Spanu then goes deep. Oh, then Hogarth is round. Oh, and there's a multi-car pile up there. All across the track. Yellow flag should be engaged there. As Rodriguez, who I feel was the man who caused that. And Spanu limps away.
Oh, I think we just missed it there. I think just flicking through the grid. Rivera had a bit of a moment. Dangerously rejoined the track. Sending a Mercedes, I think. Was it a Mercedes?
And Rivera's pretty banged up himself. He's onto the gravel on the outside with his bonnet lifted.
Yeah,
and that'll be a trip into the pit.
He just sent Viram for a trip over the grass. Very lucky to avoid that there. I'm not quite sure whether we'd see that in the stewards room for dangerous rejoin, but say Viram, great reflexes there to avoid the car on the middle of the track.
Now we do have quite the battle emerging for P11 here. We have another 4-car battle a bit further up. Just when we thought we'd lost our 4-car battle, another one has developed with...
So this fight between G Brown, Cuters, Clayton and S13, we're going to go with it, has been absolutely head-to-head these last couple of laps. So as you've been watching the other battle, I've been keeping my eye on this one. Clayton is going to go for a move on the inside of the Dunlop hairpin.
He doesn't, but he gets it
deep.
open.
Gets a great drive out of there on the inside line, but then...
And further ahead, we've got another 2x2. Got the BMW of Serfontaine. Oh, getting a little bit tapped wide. He's going to have to yield to the... Oh no, Serfontaine has taken the position. G Brown in the Bentley. I think my timing screen's a little bit messed up.
Yeah, so to see Viram struggling there in the Dunlop hairpin, going for a bit of a sandcastle in the gravel.
Oh, there's a little bit of a late defensive move there. The BMW of Serfontaine defending from G Brown again. Oh, Clayton there doesn't get the best of exits out of the chicane. That bunches up all the cars behind him. It'll be Cuters and Sharp. Very happy to have gained, but then not too happy to have lost out in comparison to those ahead.
So just flicking through the pack here, we've got D, Owls trying to chase down Molnix in P10 at the moment. So he did a little bit of a better straight line speed, but didn't quite get the move done by turn 1. So we've got Heyman's just in front in P8. Whether Molnix is going to want to attack or defend. So this sprint session, 11.5 minutes left of this session.
We've got a little battle. We've got little battles further ahead. We've got DeVita chasing Grace, which he has been doing since the start, and we've got Volton chasing Guzman Garcia for respective P4 and P6 positions.
Popped up on my screen there. Jay Lilholt, car number 63, stop go 30 seconds for speeding in the pit lane. Naughty, naughty.
Thank you, Bubs. Thank you for joining us.
I think my positions are slightly wrong there, but there's a good battle there. I think that might have a lapped car in there. I think I might be wrong or I might be right.
I think at this stage, yeah, there's a few cars out there that have been lapped. We go back up to the battles though. Look, quite an interesting
Big
one.
train here at the minute. Say I can see P18 of Herwig all the way. Oh, Zolito is going to go for a move on the inside of Cablo. Great move from him there.
Justice missed that one on the main feed. Further ahead, we've got 2 Ferraris, both resplendent in red, coming into the hairpin. Looks like Michelson is having to defend Zolito. But drives away well. Schinker, Mickelson and Schinker, sorry. What happens when you put too many Ferraris in a line.
A fake Italian comes out.
But now Mikkelsen coming up the inside of Schinker goes quite aggressively to the inside, gets turned in nice and early, respects the move to the outside. Will you try one back on the outside again? This is very, very respectful, both giving fantastic space, but this has allowed the pack with Zalotto to close in. Zalotto goes deep on the brakes to close up, but can't find a gap. Mikkelsen back round to the outside.
There was a tap there from one of the Ferraris there.
Oh, I think we're going to get a bit of a sandwich further back.
Oh, we got Cuba.
Oh, no!
No, it's a Bentley.
And he's going right across the track.
Gone for a grass cut.
Now you saw something happening there from quite early on, going 3 wide in quite a tight, fast section of the track. And we've got Clayton now looking for a move on Serfontaine. This one's been building throughout the race. As we're 2 minutes past the halfway stage, Clayton gets a bit twitchy on the nose there, loses ground on Serfontaine, but doesn't lose too much ground to Cuters behind. But that Ferrari Clayton has so much straight line speed, or at least traction against the BMW. Turns in well, both of them into the chicane. Oh, Clayton goes very deep into the Coca-Cola curve. That allows Cuters to pull right up. But Clayton gets a good drive out. I tell you, he set up that car for some traction today, Retro.
Yeah, so just watching your point of view just in the corner on my phone, just to make sure we get all the juicy action that's going to unfold on this session of the sprint. So just flicking through the pack to see what we've got. So fantastic racing from all the drivers so far.
It's like Cuters has got a bit frustrated with this 2-car battle ahead of him. He thinks he's faster than Clayton as he keeps throwing little shapes in at him, trying to fill up his wing mirrors.
So we just got D. Johns, currently P23, looked for a switchback on Q Robert in P22 at the moment. So there's 3-4 car train at the minute. We've got Zaletto going deep, inviting Q Robert in. Didn't quite get the drive that Robert wanted to take the move. Zaletto does keep that Ferrari stuck in front. So where we saw last lap the Bentley went for a swim across the grass, they all think better of it than going 3 wide. So this train of cars down towards the Dunlop hairpin is going to get a bit more spicy.
Does look like Zaletto is recovered from that quite well. Got a good drive as he found the inside for the next corner. Always the Porsche from behind goes quite deep. That was D. Johns taking a dive.
So very out of shape there.
There's a BMW in the mix there that I'm not accounting for.
So the Porsche of Horvath was able to close the gap ever so slightly from the mistake.
I'm sorry, Retro, we've got 4 going in to the Coca-Cola again. This is going to be very tight as we go across the line and then into the first corner, being led by Mulnix, or Heyman, sorry. He's managed to pull away a little bit in that BMW, but further back we've got Mulnix. There's Al's all on his tail.
Go for a move, all late on the brakes.
He goes deep and that invites Brown in. And that exits them in 2x2. Heymans now has to defend the outside from Mulnix, but it's quite easy to do around here as the next turn is another left-hander. But Mulnix goes right onto the marbles, goes deep, and he's going to get attacked by Owls. But as the track turns back inwards to the right, no, but Owls has found a move around the inside and no cross.
Where's the Ferrari gone? He's gone for a spin.
When all the lines started spelling out risk, I think we've had a change of position further up. I think Guzman has got past Volton, and then Guzman goes deep, and that invites Volton back through. I think they've got their bucket and spade out today, Retro. The trip to the beach was on the cards.
That's it. All this glorious weather on this bank holiday. The boys are on the beaches playing with the sand, not on the tarmac.
But we have G. Harvey now out of the top runners. G. Harvey now really, really closing on D. DeVita. Car number 4 chasing down D Vita, who's going to want to call that number on his car to get him out of this jam. As Harvey gets a great run through the chicane. How is he on the brakes for the Coca-Cola hairpin? Keeps it marginally tighter than DeVita. Then DeVita gets a great drive out. Then picking up the slipstream is G Harvey. Half a second is the gap, which is a bit too far away to be throwing a move at this late stage. Maybe on the last lap he might throw something spectacular, but for now he's quite happy to follow.
So just to join that, Q Robert is not letting Zaletto go on this track. He's literally pushing that Ferrari around as they come, excuse me, into chicane. Oh, as we got a car off on the grass, a Ferrari of S Skinny just about keeps it facing forward. Whether that rejoin might be looked at, I'm not quite sure. So it does invite Zaletto and Q Robert ever so slightly closer down the start straight.
So Zaletto getting a bit of a slipstream from Skinny here, but I don't think the straight is quite long enough to really make anything from it, as he goes quite deep on the brakes.
Very defensive there from the Ferrari.
But that heaviness on the brakes has had to back up Robert there, which then in turn has allowed Johns to catch up. Johns, he's almost tapping the rear of that Ferrari. Looks for a move. The line does gradually open up for him, but we've seen so many times here the outside becomes the inside. But then Johns
going for a move round the outside.
Now goes deep.
Robert.
Will Robert have anything to say about that? He did go quite wide to get that move done.
So I'm not quite sure which car is being blue flagged at the minute, but I'm seeing blue flags waved on track at the minute. We've got Horvath also joining the fight. Obviously, I think it's the BMW that's in the way at the moment.
So I've just gone back on board with P4, back chasing down P3. Yeah, Bubs, it is, but as we know from ACC, the track limits can be quite lenient. Especially if the move was already done before he exited the corner, but we know some stewards that would still punish for that.
Going to interrupt you there. Q Robert collides with the side of the Porsche, then gets sent for a swim in the middle of the circuit.
Then we go back on board. Q, Mr. Harvey, ever chasing down Mr. DeVita. Two big wings on these cars. They've shown great control. Harvey looking for that D John line to try and pick up some extra speed.
Because I think that is what's quite lenient about that track. If they was to use the racing line, I think the racing line for this game does run quite wide on the exit of that corner. So I think more leniency from this circuit, people are going to choose that wider line to get the better traction rather than keeping it pinned and keeping it tight.
So Al's just breaking away in his P8 position from the pack behind, which has got G Brown, Heymans, Clayton and Kuchers in it. This whole pack has just started to space out a little bit. Drivers really starting to just settle in the later stages of this race. And further back we have Trotman, who's had to get out from underneath Serfontaine. Everywhere I looked on this track, Retro, I think there's a McLaren chasing a BMW. As he does get a bit heavy on the outside curbing, as there's a
that invites Sharp in. Sharp then takes full advantage of Trotman having a bit of a bump on the bouncy castle of that curbing. Sharp says thank you very much and slots into P15. So as we just had it, leader on the final lap. Friedman clocked out of this race already. 8 seconds gap to Prentice in the Ferrari.
So as we call that the final lap, Guzman is coming into the first turn. So he's 3 tenths down. Does he send one? No, he does not. Goes to wide line, looks for a cutback. Nothing doing yet. Further up, Harvey would have been counting his opportunities. Gone begging so far in this race. Will any more present itself before the end?
I think there we have a BMW in the mix between Johns and Robert at the minute. So Robert trying to claw back whatever dignity he has from having that spin and a swim on the middle of the circuit. I don't think he's going to quite get the move back on Johns. So as they come down his final lap.
So we've got Friedman just coming through the middle sector now. Alza's just getting close by his group once again. We'll keep tabs on that.
So just behind the battle for the last podium spot, Harvey and De Vita. Harvey's the closest I've seen him all race at the moment. Trying to get a move done on the Porsche. The Porsche going deep and wide over the sand for a sandcastle that then invites Harvey for a slipstream into chicane. Is he going to send one, or is he going to wait for the Coca-Cola curve? We're all going to find out now who's going to be braver through the chicane, who's going to get the better traction and the exit. So there we have Friedman over the line to take P1. The Coca-Cola curve, the fight for P3. Who's going to get the better traction? Oh, a bit of a snap from the Porsche there. I don't think Harvey's going to quite get the move done for P3. So respectable P4 from the lads there. Oh, M. Grace smacks into the wall as he crosses the line. Volton P6.
Oh,
Guzman
as we've got
P7.
Als not quite getting the traction away out of the final corner. I don't think he's going to quite get caught, but Brown's going to give it a go. Doesn't get it.
And Clayton P10 there. Heyman's P11. Cooters P12. A Sharp P13.
Oh, but coming at the final, on the final lap, Herwig chasing Mullenix. Oh, so close. We've got a battle of three coming towards Coca-Cola curve. Looks like John's gone a little deep. We've got cars dipping to the inside and over the curb. Will Robert get Johns? John's gone defensive.
So, no.
Doesn't get it done. As we have Virum having to defend from. Oh, as round he goes. And that is Virum round, knocked out of the way by the BMW of...
If I believe correctly, Virum was knocked out by
a back marker, I think.
In a back marker, yeah.
I assume that will definitely be looked at after the race. And then to the line, Thacker and Spanu. Spanu just edging Thacker out. So there we have it. Ford Sprint Race 1, 20 minutes. We have Friedman with an absolutely brilliant win from the lead. Just built a gap throughout that race and never gave a single bit of ground up. And Prentice, De Vita, Harvey, Grace, Volton, Garcia, all pretty much holding position from the start. Followed by Owls, Brown, Clayton, Hyamans, and Cooters, who were involved in a very long, hard-fought battle there. And further back, Sharp, Serfontaine, Trotman, Prentice, Mullenute, Herwig, and Mickelson, I think, were all involved in a battle with each other at some point. Then Schinkter, Harvey, Johns, Robert, Cablo, and Zalotto, and Virum, who we just saw get relatively wiped out towards the back there. And Spaniel and Thacker, we just watched fire towards the line. As we've just heard, Friedman did beat his quali time in the race. It's amazing what you can do when you're just putting your head down, concentrating on getting the lap done rather than trying to watch the delta the entire time. But a few laps down, we have Rodriguez, Gedman, Lilholt, Graf, Gonal, Rivera, and Huguenot, who
they retired from lap 1 due to an incident from turn 1.
I think we saw that on the stream, didn't we? It was quite
Nasty,
quite a big one. Yeah, quite a bad one. As we wait for the drivers just to all return to the pits and the session to tick over. I very much enjoyed that one, and we're going to get a race double the length, hopefully with double the enjoyment. Maybe a few extra strategic calls we called in. We don't suspect that pitting in a 40-minute race will gain you much advantage, but I've been proven wrong on many things before.
So very right there, buddy. So all to play for 40-minute race, whether it's worth banking for the pit stop or whether, say, mandatory rules come into play We're all going to find out in a minute. Double the race, double the time, double the action. Absolutely fantastic. But say, please do bear with us, lads. It's our debut on ACC commentating. It's a bit different looking at F1 covering 20 cars, yet alone 35 cars, all in the action. There's 2 of us, 35 of you. It's absolutely been brilliant.
So I would have looked at the replay, but the replay function at the moment has got quite a weird glitch in the fact that it's ghosting all the cars. We can't see a thing. So as much as I'd love to show you a replay of the start of this race, unfortunately that's going to be possible this evening. We're going to wait for an update and we'll try again next week. We'll have the final round of this season as we go even darker.
There. It's going to be even harder.
So as we start the grid, as we finished in the 20-minute sprint, and we're going to go into the night with some headlights on, and hopefully we can see the action through the fog and give you some more FRL sprint racing Sunday. So yeah, does anybody in the comments suspect that we're going to get anything different to what we just had? Anybody that maybe without incident may have advanced a lot more? I think out of those that are there, I think Heyman's, had a relative incident early on, didn't he?
Yeah. So there's quite a few to count on one hand. A few drivers having a moment here and a moment there, but say that big one on lap 1, turn 1. I was flicking through the pack and I must have saw about 5, 6, 7 cars all having a sandcastle battle. Who's got the bigger castle on the sand? Unfortunately, that's not what we're here for. So we're here for the racing, not putting sandcastles and buckets of spade in the grass.
Yeah, and thank you 21DDV. Thank you very much for your support. We are muddling through it as we go along, and hopefully as the season builds we'll build our confidence in the comms box in covering ACC. We're in such a large grid. It's we've covered up to 20 cars in the past, and with different tiers, different drivers and names, not just racer tags but car numbers, and obviously the opportunity for cars to go on multiple different laps and come back through the field with tiers as well. So this is so much of this is so new to us. We thank you everybody who's got the patience to listen to us this evening as we work it out. But hopefully we provided you with some entertainment so far, as we just watched Grace briefly dip into the Shadow Realm and come back again. They're driving into the Shadow Realm this evening.
So hopefully everyone does manage to select the good old drive button without any issues.
Well, I'm not going to do that this time.
That's why I said it, just in case, because we both did it.
10 seconds.
The only thing is, I do want to make sure that I do get that nice wide-angled camera. So I'm going to see what camera I get initially, and once we've got the start cleared, I've got quite a close camera early on.
Oh, we got Prentice. Good luck for ghosting. We had Prentice just drive straight into the side of Friedman just before turn 1. Good job. Ghosting is a thing on this game for the formation lap, because that would have been an interesting incident to report. Well, what happened? Well, I drove into him. Why? Because I wanted to win.
Right, for the sake of viewing, I think seeing as it did in fact work last time, I'm going to exit it as soon as possible. I'm going to get you that wide-angled camera, everybody. There we go, that's the one. So we're just going to get a nice wide angle camera for the start, and then as soon as possible we're going to go back and have a full race where we can see everything.
So it's just a shame that the spectate doesn't quite work properly, because that's quite a nice view that you can see all the inputs, and so without giving too much away, obviously driver preferences of, say, traction, ABS, all that good stuff.
Friedman, as he did in the race 1, has bolted just that little bit, making sure that he gets all of his tyre work through done, as others are forced to keep behind those who they have qualified for this race next to. As we are rounding now the middle sector, the turn named the Warsteiner curb. There you go. For those who don't know me, I think this is my commentary before. I do have a little Racetracks to the World cheat book that I do refer to. I'm not, unfortunately, an encyclopedia as much as I would like to be. So as the cars form up 2x2, everyone's still yet to catch Friedman. We'll see if he can, in fact, pull off the same trick that he did last time. He had to do a little bit defending turn 1, but after that, it was just dominance personified. Now, as far as I'm aware, this isn't like a safety car restart, but he's definitely treating it like one. Everybody reacting to him. As he ends up on the dirty side of the grid for this start. It's very, very shortly we are going to get green lights.
Green light.
And away we go.
77 for a penalty already.
As Prentice is getting absolutely swamped. Drivers either side, what can he do in the braking? Very, very little. He gets swamped even more. The two cars just up behind him.
Oh, we had G. Brown spun round. Big carnage, turn 1 once again.
And that's DeVita gone and Prentice. No,
cars everywhere.
But Friedman, as ever, has got out unscathed. As once again, we do apologise for the condition of the timing board on the first lap. But I'm picking up.
Quite interesting to see, spotted by one of the viewers, that Guzman doesn't have his lights on.
He does not. He's gone stealth mode.
Is that a mandatory requirement to have your lights on? I'm pretty sure the game pests you 24/7 to put your lights on.
As we've just cut, so it's very hard to tell you which driver is where. We are in the dark and we're without proper symmetry. As we've got, oh, that was. Oh, as I've just seen another car pinged from the track. We'll just stay on board with Friedman for the time being before all this settles down.
They've got car 63 having a bit of a moment there. So just waiting for the sector times and the lobby leaderboard to roughly get where it needs to be. But Lil Holt finds his way towards the back of the grid.
As I just caught Trotman overtaking Owls beautifully around the Vernstad curb.
So S. Graf has picked up the drive-through from race position start from the start, so he's got to serve that within 3 laps. But so we've got a few cars coming together. Gonal and Gedman coming together nearly in chicane, as Grave does then dive into the pits to get his drive-through served, gone and out of the way with. We've got car 88 as well towards the back. Mickelson.
As we've got another dive from Trotman, who's then touched the other Prentice, who's now also going to get picked up. Oh no, that's Sharp is out, it seems.
I think he's just waiting for a safe rejoin. Oh, There was a bit of a moment there. I think it was a BMW that got ever so close to him there.
And it was like Prentice after tapping, I believe was lost him now. But yeah, Prentice carries on after an incident in turn 1, hopefully not with too much damage. Did seem to be at fault with the late dive into a corner that does turn back on you as you go through it.
So Sharp is in the pits. So we've also got car 63 in the pits with him as well. So Lil Holt, I'm not quite sure he's retired.
So just picks up Gedman, who's very, very close in the back of Hovarth. That BMW is an absolute demon in a straight line. There's Gonald, sorry, in the BMW. Looks like Shinka is going to throw one down the inside at the... Oh, as Gonald goes wide. As he goes through the fast right-hander.
So just behind Skinny, I say the Porsche of Spano is absolutely battered towards the rear end.
This car's going very, very defensive.
A bit of a moment there from the BMW from Gonal. Say Kinney does then slip past round the Coca-Cola curve.
Yeah, lovely picks, slipstream picks are there by Gonal. Will he attempt to throw one on Skinker? Skinker goes deep, gets late on his brakes, does go a bit deep, but recovers it, takes the wider line. And we've seen a lot of drivers get away with that so far this evening, taking the wider line when they've gone a bit too deep.
Guzman trying to fight the extreme inside line from Zaletto there. So having a bit of a snap, rounding the inside, then get the outside, going round the outside once again. He's not got his lights on, whether that's tactical mind games. I say, trying to fight the extreme inside line, but Stiletto does pull away, pull in front of the McLaren at the moment.
So if there's any admins watching the stream who can comment, we'd love to know if he's breaking a mandatory requirement for the dark by not having his lights on.
I'm not quite sure if it's a lap car making its way through, but say Rivera did just let a Mercedes through. Yes, Lil Holt just trying to make his way back for the grid. He's currently lapped. Further
up, we've got quite a battle building. We've got G Brown very, very close on the back of Thacker. Oh, as Thacker gets a dreadful exit there, coming down towards chicane, he has to go very defensive. Oh, but the looks like the Bentley of G Brown.
So if you want to get a good battle at the moment, buddy, we've got D Johns trying to fight the Porsche of DeVita into chicane. So we did have Q Roberts joining that fight, but he went wide. Oh, we got the Porsche all over the grass.
We've got Roberts standing up to the inside. He gets through the inside and looks like he might even let another one through. That's Cablo coming up the inside. He does have a tyre up on the inside, and he's going to have every right to dive it into the first turn here. Equal on power. But no, Cablo is just starting to find a bit more traction as the track closes up. Oh no!
A big smack!
As Cablo just hit the anchors to not go into D Johns, that he ended up just getting himself caught.
So it's a big moment there, but say just that fight from Q Roberts a couple of corners ago, he went deep.
So I've just caught Spenu going off track and coming back on, losing quite a lot of speed. That allows Cooters to have a little look at him. He's offline, Spanu, he's slowly regaining it back. Yeah, and Spanu just about gets away with that in a big slap coming off the grass. Further up, we've got Hovarth and Sir Fontaine. Oh, as we have touches in the back. Oh, as he's almost crowded out to the grass.
Yeah, Cooters and it was Spanu having a bit of a touch there, just slightly behind the battle that you're watching, buddy. So he's heating up this second part of this race.
So we have an enormous battle all the way back from Serfontaine. I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and counting drivers all the way back, all less than a second of one another. As Serfontaine gets quite defensive. There's Hovarth just slightly ahead of this pack, but Serfontaine is not too far behind. He's just not quite underneath his gearbox just yet.
Big moment there from a few drivers, giving respectable space through the chicane. As there's, I think, a bit of a snap from one of the Porsche drivers, which then invited Gonal for a move round the outside, but gave respectable space to the car in front. He did have a great move there.
Oh,
that was a bit naughty. I think Spanu, not
that was
quite
Spanu,
sure.
yeah, managed to just about weave through the cars at the first turn. Be very, very lucky. That could have been a huge incident, a very, very big penalty if he'd have taken anybody with him.
So
and now as he gets overtaken.
K-Mag. We've got Q Robert and D Johns going at it once again.
Just pay respect to Friedman, who has checked out once again. Yeah, this battle for what is now P14 is really, really hotting up. As we have a driver ahead, that is the Porsche.
We just
had
Gedman, D Johns and Q Robert going at it once again into the Dunlop hairpin. Say the Q Robert, I think, just tapped.
So we've got
tapped.
The BMW of Gonal. Oh, going off. Bit of a late defensive move there. What I believe was Gedman just sending Gonal wide, as then Godwin goes off himself, and that invites Gonal back through. He takes a bit of signage board with him, and now he has the McLaren diving on his inside. And then we have another Porsche arriving quickly.
So it's just heating up more and more, but say that moment in the hairpin, the McLaren and the Porsche has tapped. One was sent for a slip and a slide over the sand. No real damage done, but time and dignity hurt.
But now Gedman looking very, very vulnerable with so many cars lining up for an overtake. After having gone off with dirty tyres, he goes very, very defensive, compromises line. Oh, was that BMW?
Hits the curb in. Oh, gets nearly rear-ended from the Porsche behind him.
I'm going to stay on board with this battle for P18. But I've noticed that Serfontaine is getting very, very close further up. Serfontaine is chasing down Shinto all he can. Looks for a move to the inside, but rarely ever make moves through there. Makes his rear end wobble just a little bit.
Hot on the heels of Serfontaine as well. Kutis
really
also just slipping into the back of this.
Got Johns as well. Porsche on Porsche. Gedman's is the cork in the bottle for this pack, I think, for it to all become one. And one big battle for what is P11 or P16, who has the biggest gap, sorry.
There got Kutis chasing down the Porsche of Horvath at the minute. He's got the outside line into the braking point. He's going to go for a switchback here. The Porsche runs deep. He elects for the inside line for a switchback. Doesn't get the drive out of it. A great defending from the Porsche there.
And a bit further back, other drivers with a bit of a flash there. Something that's, I think Johns is happy about something that Gedman's done. Now Gedman has been struggling through this section. Let's see how he manages it this time. Will they close up through Coca-Cola? Quite controlled so far.
I think it's a great drive out of the Coca-Cola Cove there.
Yeah, John's looking really racy now. He's left a bit of a gap behind him to Hyman's.
So we did have G Brown going for a great slipstream on the inside. He's to get a move done. This could be sensational. Absolutely great move into turn one there from G Brown on Hyman's.
I'm just watching Roberts. I keep seeing him take quite a wide line there. That puts Herwig a bit loose on the rear. Yeah, this midfield pack providing us wonderful entertainment. Further up, I think everybody's built good gaps. The closest and furthest up move is Serfontaine, chasing Skinker. Skinker just doing a great job clearly in certain sections of the racetrack to stop any attacks coming for him. As we watch here, just great acceleration. Just gives himself about a half-second gap to go down the straight with. But it does look like Hovarth is really closing on entry.
Yeah,
so for someone like
massive cork in the bottle there, buddy. You're fantastically right there.
It only takes one mistake. I feel like with Hovarth just throwing, or with Serfontaine throwing his car in well, but then really struggling to exit. And this has invited Hovarth into the mix. Will he take a dive into? I keep losing the sections of the track in the dark.
Right, it's a bit confusing, isn't it? So the chicane, Hovarth gets a bit out of shape there, has a bit of a snap, inviting Couters in, fends him off, slams the door shut of the Ferrari, trying to make a move on the Porsche there. To say this fight is still getting warmer and warmer as we progress lap after lap. Yellow flag for the car in the pit. Don't know why the game doesn't recognise that, but ignore the yellow flag.
Oh, was that Hovarth going very deep there, and that has allowed to invite Couters around the outside. He gets very slippy on the outside here, but he gets a good drive nonetheless. Then Hovarth throws it back. Can Couters actually slot his car back in front of De Vita, but then De Vita's left himself vulnerable, and that's...
We've got Guzman behind with a big snap from kissing the curb, which is now going to invite Gonal side by side for his tight part of the track.
And they touch.
A bit of a touch there.
And another
Both
one.
drivers seem to be facing the right way.
More space now being given as they come out of Ford Curve. Still side by side as we go into Dunlop. It looks like Gonal's going to get this one done, but no. And
both drivers tap.
And who was that going wide?
That was Heyman's, I think. Oh, no, there's another car going for a swim.
And that's
Gonal. Over the grass.
Oh, my goodness. A huge snap from Gonal there. And then a brief tap into the barrier. Now Gedman still defending heavily.
Across the grass. Unfortunate from him.
So we go back up. Find how Serfontaine is managing with Skinker. Skinker, who is just, like I said, once again in this middle sector, is just checking out on the exits. And that's really saving him so far in this race to maintain that P11 position. Which has him, I believe, third in class. But Hovarth now becoming a bigger concern for Serfontaine than Serfontaine is for Skinker. Hovarth took a big dive in the last lap. She has not seen this time, but now Couters trying for an inside line, but he'll find himself out of luck on the outside when he gets onto the marbles. He does here. That invites De Vita very up close behind him. Yeah, De Vita just... Oh, as he gets quite heavy on the curb there. And further up, we've not seen this gap coming down. Prentice in P3 closing in on Clayton. 9/10 is the gap. All in the silver tier. Closing, closing, closing. As he gets very heavy on the curb there. Doesn't seem to make too much impression in this sector, but we'll certainly keep an eye on the closing of that gap, as we will with P7.
The other Prentice as well. Dave Volton is closing the gap ever so slightly. So it's just under a second to him. He was a lot closer the last couple of corners. As a Prentice getting a great drive out of those tricky traction sections. So all to play for in the chicane. Ferrari versus Aston Martin. Oh, as Prentice gets a big bump or ground out from the car there. Maybe a setup change or difficulty or not, but say does allow Volton to close the gap even more.
So I've just flicked onto Hovarth, as close as he's been. 3/10 of the gap, just backs off slightly going into the chicane, but then it offers him a great exit coming into Coca-Cola. But Serfontaine has closed the door, but Hovarth looks like he's playing this very well under traction. Down goes the power, picks up the slipstream. He's going to follow him all the way down to the first corner. That BMW power is serving him well, but the slipstream is balancing this equation out. Will he have a chance to throw it down the inside? He elects not to. And once again,
the closest we've now seen Prentice to Clayton. He was practically pushing that Ferrari round sector 1, but say Clayton gets a great drive down to the Dunlop hairpin. Prentice later on the brakes there, closing that door, going wide, costing him a little bit of time. But say gets a great drive. He's now just under half a second from Clayton in front of him.
now we do have plenty of battles elsewhere, but you can see Prentice is giving it absolutely everything to close this gap down. As we approach the halfway point in this race, no pit stops required. They're going to keep pushing like this till the very end. But Prentice, I'm sure, would like to be pushing with the Ferrari, the white Ferrari of Clayton in his rear view mirror.
And so from one Prentice to the next, we've got the Aston Martin slipping and sliding all round the corners there. Volton still keeping hot on the heels of the Aston Martin. So which is then slightly allowing Molnix to catch up, whether Prentice is holding Volton back, but Molnix is ever so slightly closing in on this battle for P6.
I can't help but notice this battle for P11 is so close now. We've now got 5-6 cars in the mix. And we've got Hovarth, goes for an outside, goes for a little bit of a dummy, chooses not to make that his move. Kutas chooses not to make that move. It's been, as we watch Hovarth go wide, but all settles back down. Hovarth finding the traction once again behind Serfontaine. Dirty tyres don't seem to be affecting him too much, but it does look like Kutas behind is also closing. Kutas with a big send, but so does Hovarth, but then backs out, and that sends Kutas over the grass. Now out of these two, who gets the better drive? It is Hovarth. But then we go back towards the front. Clayton
just missed it. I just missed it. Prentice, not quite sure what happened there. I think Clayton went deep, allowing Prentice to slip back into P2. So not quite sure what happened there in the Dunlop hairpin, but say it looked clean enough. But say whether we might see that in the stewards room, but say Clayton looked quite deep in the corner. Doesn't seem to be flashing him about it, so whether he's going to give a position back or not, we don't know.
We go back down to Volton,
who has got round Prentice. It's just not updated yet.
But now he seems to be getting chased. Bear with us whilst we are trying to work this out. Like I see, is Molyneux chasing down Prentice to the tune of half a second as he goes through the last chicane around Coca-Cola, but doesn't seem to quite have the traction of the Aston Martin of Prentice.
So once again, Kutas and Horvath towards the chicane, having a bit of a dummy session.
Oh my goodness!
Oh, Horvath hits a kink on the curb.
But then Kutas
a very messy move round the outside. Gets it done.
Horvath just about manages to hold enough pace on the inside. And then further back, we've got De Vita and De Vita. Oh, was it going to tap on the straight? I must say that I think that was Guzman making too late a move on the straight as opposed to John's sending anything. But then further forward we've got taps.
Porsches collide.
As there's more touches. There's the McLaren and the Porsche coming together. Hovarth is getting away from this, but Just behind.
Getting a big snap there from that wide line corner towards this tight part of the track.
Guzman really sort of biding his time here, but he's got so much to concentrate behind him. As we said, Johns does get a great run here. This could be a move into the Dunlop hairpin. Dummies to the outside. All goes quite early on the brakes.
G Brown went for a dangerous move on the inside there. Hits the side of D Johns, I believe.
I don't think that was a late move. I think D Johns went a bit too early on the brakes there. I think that was a reactive move.
Quite possibly right there, but say a move there, say the only driver that unfortunately lost out there was the guy on the inside line.
Sir Fontaine still holding this, just slightly back from Skinker. Just having to still defend from Couters, who has had his good chances, but has not quite made any of them stick on this front of this pack.
So Prentice now finding his groove. He's pulled out a little gap from Clayton in P3 at the moment, just flicking through the pack.
So just on board with Sir Fontaine, it looks like he's going to throw a move on Skinker. Here he does a big one, a huge one, and he goes massively wide and into the gravel, which then allows Couters through. He finally gets that one to stick, but without having to put any real effort in. Nothing but awareness needed to take that one off Hovarth. The Skink is still very much
just behind, pushing DeVita around.
These two seemingly stuck together like glue. Guzman looked like he's having to race relatively reactively to DeVita, not necessarily driving his own lines. Doesn't seem to get the best traction out of that corner either, that one being Ford curve. It does seem to have got a good round of the Dunlop hairpin there, which has kept him very close on exit. As he's really very, very close now as they come down towards the chicane. Will there be a dive here? He's not left much space on the inside. So little, in fact. It's not become overly attractive, but then he goes deep. That invites Johns over the curb.
A big snap there, trying to get the traction down to make full advantage of that error from Guzman there, but didn't quite get the rubber laid down.
So G Brown looking for a move round the outside of Herwig in the Bentley. Equal braking as they go into the chicane. Great defence from Herwig. As I think John's there, just a little bit bouncy over the outside curbing. Yeah.
I've got Herwig, he's going to go for a move into turn one. He's got the inside line later on the brakes. Is he going to get the car turned in? No, he goes deep.
Does this allow both through? Allows one back through. Oh, as he goes deep again.
Snap there. G Brown's going to slip through.
If he can keep the braking on as he goes, yeah, relatively deep line. He covers off the inside again, and now he's on the preferred line as he comes out through Ford curb.
Oh, it's very wide there. I'm surprised there's not possibly a track limits there.
Now, M. Grace further up the field, still chasing down Volton. 4/10 is the gap. Oh, as Volton just goes off.
Gone.
Huge crash. Commentator's curse. Grace slips through. Volton vaulting himself into the wall.
There we've got Couters still trying to chase down Kinney. That's the closest I've seen him for a little while.
Oh, as Volton's gone round again. Oh, now he's backing up onto the... Oh, no. Oh, no.
Naughty.
Oh, no. Can't park there, mate.
Hey.
Got one
Someone
in.
said it.
As we now have Skinker, who's been leading such a big pack. Now up to P10. The incidents that we've had have seen a lot of promotions from this huge pack that we've been following. Trotman, who's quite far up the road in this tier, looking for the tier win here.
So he just jumped on John to his fight into turn 1. Who's going to be later on the brakes? D. John's very late on the brakes there.
D. John's almost inadvertently almost makes it around Guzman there, just by pure fortune. That Guzman also went deep, and then he goes extra deep and off the track.
But then invites. What was a big tap there from G. Brown in the Bentley. The bigger the car, he's going to force you off, mate. You don't bully a bully in that big of a Bentley.
That Bentley's carrying a good half a ton extra. Collisions of that, it's only going to go one way.
That's it. A Bentley's like an old school Nokia.
And we've got Johns once again. He doesn't seem to be off anybody's gearbox, so he jumps from one to another. Choosing the alternate line to hope to get a late apex.
Oh, towards the back we've got a good fight. You've got Viram, Rodriguez and Thacker towards the back, having a good bit of a tug of war into turn 1. We've got Viram going awfully deep round turn 2, or turn 3 as some people call it.
Always gets a bit of a tap, or at least it looks like Rodriguez able to back out of that at the last moment. Then gets a good drive, but Viram is really struggling.
He's not happy about it. Rodriguez is flashing him, he's not happy.
The accusation seemingly of brake checks is what I read from that flashing.
Yeah.
As he's getting really frustrated here. He's got Thacker all over his rear. We've got Viram, who's gone aggressively to the inside, then cuts back. Oh, Rodriguez has to get out onto the heavy brakes again. But now can he finally make this stick? He gets the drive. Oh, as he takes them both
drivers.
Oh, I think Viram there. I think we can only place blame
on
on
the middle of the track. Oh no.
Oh, as that's a huge crash. And is that the leader? Is that the leader? Is that Friedman? It is. That's Friedman been taken out by a back marker.
Absolute
Disaster.
scenes. That now allows Prentice back through. Clayton has also slipped through.
Absolute disaster for Friedman there.
I'm
That
sure
will
we're going to see
definitely
that
be
in the stewards room.
I've not been sure of many this evening, but that one I'm absolutely certain we're going to see pop up with the stewards. Now we'll just stay on board with Friedman momentarily just to see how he gets driving. It was a big clatter.
Yeah, I think he's struggling there.
He is very much struggling. But he does carry on past the pits. Oh, this is uncomfortable to watch for the man who led this race so comfortably for so long. Now he's got about a 4-second gap to Garvey, who's on the same straight, and he'd be closing quickly.
Out the way of Prentice. So there is a back marker in the mix of the front runners at the moment.
Oh, so close to the end as well. Only 8 minutes remaining, and the lead that Friedman was carrying so easily snatched from him. We rejoin the battle for 10th place. Cooters chasing down Skinker as Serfontaine has been dropped by Cooters. Cooters with what looks like better straight line speed in comparison to Skinker is closing. Slips to the outside, loses the slipstream, looks for a big dive down the outside, turns in, tries for a cutback. What's this? Can he get it done on the dirty stuff as he gets tagged? I think that's all fair for now. Just 2 alternate lines crossing. That invites Serfontaine back into the mix. Hovarth, in all the action behind, has been dropped just a little bit to 8/10. But he's got concerns of his own. He's got G. Brown, DeVita and Guzman all chasing him down. But Skinker, I can't believe how well he's done just leading this pack at arm's length. He's put his name in the hat for driver of the day. Serfontaine looks like... That's Cooters, sorry.
Yeah, I think Friedman's really struggling there, having to basically gently just dance round the chicane.
So that's Cooters. No, sorry. So it's just Cooters and Skinker here. I think what was ahead of him is in fact a back marker of one of the Ferraris.
And so we've got Friedman just making the most of a slipstream from the back marker of a BMW.
So he has started to build that back up. 4/10 he's managed to pull back there. We'll wait to see how Skinker, and that is Skinker, Cooters, and they have Serfontaine a lot further back.
You've got G Brown hot on the back of Serfontaine coming around the Coca-Cola curve. The battle of the boats, the BMW versus the Bentley.
Or with buckets of power to use. But G Brown looks like he's got a bit more grunt.
Lovely slipstream.
As who's got hotter brakes here? Brown goes deep, but he can carry the line if he's careful, but no! Serfontaine fights it back, but now he's going to be on the outside for the next turn. Gets out on the marbles. And it looks like Serfontaine has held off for now. But he's going to be there.
Invites Horvath right behind them in the Porsche. Don't need any lights to see that Porsche at night. Bright yellow car. Wouldn't miss that in the car park.
Oh, it was a bit further back. Was that De Vita almost going to the back of Guzman there? Herwig, sorry, almost going to the back of Guzman. De Vita, who's shown a few strange lines this evening as we've been following him.
So the fight towards the back as well. We've got Thacker and Gonal towards the back as well, having a good bit of a...
Oh, as we have Hovarth just looking for a move to the inside. Guzman, sorry, having looked to the inside of Hovarth. But now Guzman in the McLaren. Oh, in further back we've got De Vita getting overtaken by Herwig around the outside. Great move. And then further forward, Guzman is making this move. It's going to be on the outside for the chicane. It heads down the hill. Looks like Hovarth does have this one covered. As he moves on the braking. Oh no!
Oh, big smack! Big smack from Herwig behind, which then invites De Vita round two cars in the Coca-Cola curve. We've then got another car. Heyman's also making a move round the Porsche.
Hovarth was so lucky to come out of that in one piece. He just cut the next corner and straight lined it out into Coca-Cola.
You've got Q Robert also joining the back of this into turn
one. Oh, he might get 2 in 1 if he can keep it together. He doesn't.
T-boned the McLaren.
Rule number one of overtaking. Rule number one of overtaking: make sure you have a place to actually put your car, not just overtake that one car you're concerned with. Multiple cars bumped down. Hovarth very lucky to have got himself out of that.
Stewards are going to be very busy after this evening.
As I pick up Guzman again, once again with his lights off. Man of mystery in the mirrors.
I think someone did say in the comments that there might be a glitch from Xbox drivers while spectating, like when we spectate in replay mode an Xbox driver, the brake bias might be negative, but so it doesn't for some reason show the headlights on Xbox players when spectating.
So Cooters is so close to Skinker here. Now surely there's a dive coming up soon. It's only got about 2 laps remaining. This is so close. It goes down the hill towards the chicane. Skinker goes defensive to the inside. Oh no, as he cuts across him. Big incident. I don't think that's on Cooters. Cooters held his line. And Skinker just chose to come across it. And now Kujas gets to drive away, hopefully with minimal damage. With Kinker now falling well down the order. That was everybody that he's been fending off for so long. Now down in P18. I can't but notice that G. Harvey is starting to close this gap again on Friedman towards the front. What, Hovarth, the man with 9 lives, is keeping up here with De Vita and Sir Fontaine.
I think the blue Ferrari in the mix in front of Cooters is a back marker because it doesn't seem to show up on the leaderboard.
As
So
G. Brown
has just
bit
found
deep.
his way into the front of Cooters.
Yeah, G. Brown very keen. He looks to the inside of Cooters.
So there we have it, leader on final lap from race directory.
Now what can G. Brown do with Cooters here? Cooters, who has inherited the lead of this midfield pack. Now can he get a good exit here into the chicane? I don't think he's going to want to overtake him in here, especially with that butt marker so close ahead. He's just going to want to set this up, but he might not have a choice. He's closing at a rate of knots. He switches the outside, switches the inside, gets himself halfway up the inside. Oh, and Cooters outbrakes himself, and through goes Brown. And off he goes. So much has happened at that final chicane. And Brown now promotes himself up into P10. Great result for him.
And so just trying to flick through the battles. So we've got P5 and the fight for P4. Harvey versus Owls. The closest I've seen him. They got very close into turn 1. I say as it's now fizzling out these last couple of corners, we've got Harvey going deep in the Dunlop hairpin. Say which then invites Owls all over him.
Yeah, it just looks like he's driving a lot more confident as Owls.
They also got Clayton also getting close to Prentice. I don't think he's quite close enough to stick a move. So as we got Prentice coming to the chicane for the final time this lap and this session.
We've seen lots of drama in the chicane, but nothing so far for Prentice. He made moves early on. He took a free position from Friedman towards the end, and he rounds the final corner, plants his foot for the last time to come across the line and to win race 2.
Harvey had a bit of a moment there in the chicane. Owl's great reaction to avoid him there, but is this going to be a fight towards the line, getting a better traction towards the line? I don't think he's going to quite get it done. Harvey does round out P4, Owl's P5.
And the other Prentice sticking it into P6 in his neon green Aston Martin.
We've got any fights towards the line? We've got De Vita and Sir Fontaine once again.
Now this battle in the middle has found us so much entertainment. And it looks like De Vita is closing in fast. You've got to make sure to not outbrake yourself in these scenarios. It's very easily done, especially when you're trying to get the last few tenths. It doesn't look like Sir Fontaine's taken all that well, but he seems to have kept it together for Coca-Cola, and away he goes. I think that's all she wrote. But we've got Heymans super close on Hovarth, just out of shot there. I think Hovarth gets it done over Herwig. Further down the field, then we're just coming in formation now. Mr. Gedman swinging his Porsche across the line. By Graf. We've got Mickelson.
F. Rodriguez. Virum's already in the pits, it's just not showing it.
Yeah, Mickelson is what looks like a Ford painted Ferrari. So there you have it, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. There is your leaderboard for race 2 of Sprint Sunday. That's Prentice leading Clayton, leading Friedman, who had a very, very unfortunate incident with the back marker late on in the race, followed by Harvey, who was chasing him down but to no avail, followed by Owls, and then the other Prentice in P6. Strong showing from, I'm assuming, is a family outing around the Nurbergring. Then Mullenix, Grace, Trotman, G Brown round out the top 10. Couters wins out with G Brown in that midfield battle. Then Serfontaine, who was in the mix the whole way through. Then DeVita, Heymans, Hovarth, Herwig, and Schinker, who just, unfortunately, despite a great race for about 90% of it, just couldn't make it stick when the pressure finally came onto him. Q Robert, fair bit further back, just missing out on taking Schinker as well. Then Guzman, Garcia, and D. Johns, Gedman, who gave us a lot of entertainment. Then Graf, Mickelson, Gonal, Bolton, Rodriguez, Rivera, Little Holt, and Thacker were just all those that finished multiple laps down. And we'll get you the timetables for the other race as well. So there were your qualifying standings. If anybody is having to record any of this, as we have been disconnected. So apologies I couldn't give you any more than that. Hopefully somebody else who's in the server will have that down for us. I've been the Woofafa, Wood, otherwise known as Greg. I've not got my own name.
Great job.
Yeah, I made it so far remembering my name. But no, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you all for the final race of the season, and then hopefully they've all liked us in the Discord. They'll let us come back again.
I hope so, but it's been an absolute pleasure. So please, guys, cut us some slack. Say debut commentating on ACC. We've only done F1 before, but so hopefully you've liked what you've seen. Fantastic action all across the grid. No matter where you are, if you're in a battle, we're going to watch it, we're going to spectate it, we're going to get involved, we're going to give you all the details. So he's been the Wufafa, I've been Retro Ghost. It was an absolute pleasure. I can't stress enough. And say, take it away, buddy.
Yeah. Have a good night, everyone. See you next week.
Take it easy, folks.